So, kind of touching on your parents a little bit. So they're immigrants, like you kind of like said in interviews before. Um,
Yes.
as far as how that goes, did they completely understand like kind of like your dreams and aspirations when it first started coming about? Like, because that's like this whole music thing, especially in the states, in Texas or anywhere in general, to try to explain that to like somebody who grew up in like Mexico, El Salvador,
Yeah, my
wherever,
mom still
to
doesn't
be
know what a
like
podcast
yo,
is.
I'm finna do this music shit, and I'm finna do it seriously.
Yeah.
Like how was that like initial like kind of like reaction? Like what, I'm pretty sure it was kind of like mixed, you know?
Yeah, definitely. They weren't very happy about it at first. I mean, obviously it's been a hobby of mine since I was 15, so they knew that I was like liked doing it, but they never took it serious until
Hmm.
I got out of high school and I was supposed to go to college, and I ended up deciding not to, and that's when it took a different turn with them. They're like, "Oh, this was supposed to just be something you did for fun. Now
Right.
you're trying to like, pursue a whole career out of it. Like it's not that easy." And I knew that. But in my mind, all I can think was, well, I can go to school and completely hate what I'm doing and then be miserable. And then not only that, like I'm gonna be in this crazy debt. And it was either that route or I was like, I can do what I want to do and know I'm gonna give it my all. And of course it's still gonna cost money, you're still an investment regardless. But the two, like, one side I do want to do and the other side I don't. So it's just like I had to choose what made most sense for myself. And, it got to a point where like it took a couple years. Honestly, it wasn't until like this year that they were more like,
Supportive.
okay, like you're actually like really doing something, And now I get phone calls from my dad, or he's just like, it's funny because my dad's not, he just got a phone that wasn't a flip phone like the beginning of last year.
Hmm.
So now he has like a touchscreen phone and he just discovered like social media. So he'd be like, and it's funny because he just Googles my name. He says, I Google your name and then everything pops up. So he kicks on my Twitter and my
And does
Instagram.
he think
So
it's
he
like the
keeps up.
coolest thing ever?
Yeah.
Does he
So
know your
he's keeping up with my,
Does he know
what's
your
up?
handle like that? He doesn't type in
Yeah, he types in
Bianca.
my name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So it's funny because he just be like, yeah, I saw that you did this. I don't really be telling them everything I do too much. So he just be like going and seeing like, oh, I saw you did a show and like there's that many people.
Like,
Like, yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
crazy
guess.
because then like it wasn't like that. I was performing at like warehouses with no AC type shit. Like it definitely went from that to like it's completely different now for sure, and they see that now, and that feels good to me because out of anyone, like I never care to prove anyone wrong other than them because I
Hmm.
so badly wanted to show them like I know y'all had a different idea of what success is for me, but like I also had this idea for myself, and to try to like prove to them that it was doable was so hard, but like I finally did, and that feeling was like finally like it feels good. So it's definitely dope, and they like come out to the shows, and it's dope that they really put in that effort. They definitely want to show as much support as they can now, so it means a lot.
Hmm. Okay. Um, I think if I recall, some of your musical influences that you kind of touched on in other interviews that I've seen is because I think one of the first things that stuck out to me when I started hearing your music was just how much of an R&B sense a lot of your beats that you were, whether you be rapping or kind of like, a mixture, kind of like singing, rapping. Um, and I think you said in one interview that you were really influenced by a lot of like the 90s stuff like Drew Hill, Jodeci. Um,
Yeah.
and forgive me, but what were more of the rapper influence if you could say?
um I did say like I kind of like in two different interviews I feel like I said two different
Yeah,
rappers.
yeah.
But like I was definitely like more into like Lil Wayne, like
Okay.
Zero, SPM, and then I also listened to like 90s hip hop, so I listened to like Big L, Tribe Called Quest, um who else, can't even think, like Biggie, so I was really big into both sides of it too. So yeah, I have definitely always felt like my main like taste or my main influence was from 90s R&B more than anything.
Yeah. And was there anything outside of music, like whether it be like sports, athletes, actors, entertainers that kind of like influenced you of like how you approach like your craft, like as far as like constructing songs, the way you go about marketing, like were there any outside influences like that?
To be honest, it's funny that you asked that. I feel like no one's ever asked me this question. But Puff Daddy. I watched, man, if you ever watch his Don't Stop, Won't Stop
Yeah.
documentary, man, like I got so like intrigued by the way he thinks about things. A lot of people probably watching it like, man, this dude's an asshole. But like I saw it kind of like, man, that's why he's so damn successful. Like there's just so much about him and the way he thinks. And I went back and started like really watching interviews from him when he was younger, because I wanted to see like what got him to where he's at now. So I just watched a bunch of Puff videos from when like in his prime, when he was like literally when he was just signed like Biggie and all them, like, and just hearing him talk and like hearing the way he handles situations. And I don't know, I really just I wanted to develop that same mindset, and I just wanted to, you know, learn from him as much as I could. So he's someone that I'm constantly like trying to learn from, and like him back then and him now, you know. So I think Puff for sure.
Oh yeah, that's dope. Yeah, that is true. How you can kind of like watch him and like really like misconstrued it. You like look at it like, oh man, he's just wilding out and every single. But yeah, I get it, because it's like people like him. I think I guess Suge Knight's a little bad example of like everything that happened with him, but at his prime with Death Row and all that, you could definitely see like the machine that he was working and like all the artists that he was turning out with like Pac and Snoop and everybody else. So yeah, no, that's dope.
And so speaking of that, I mean, obviously, I mean, no matter how people will look at you, like here in the new future when you blow up, I mean, you are not an overnight success. You've been doing this for a long time. So like within those 9 years before you got to Smooth, I'm curious to know, because you know that like they've been talking about, you know, I guess sort of, they've been talking against hustle culture for a long time now, but I'm always curious for an artist that like really puts in the work day in and day out. What does a day of rest look like for you, and what does a day of work look like for you, you know, before you got with Smooth? Because, you know, Smooth, I guess at this point, and don't let me put words in your mouth, it's kind of like a motor, you know, like underneath you, and like it's like, hey, you got to do this.
That's
you know,
exactly what you
exactly, which is a great thing to have. So I'm just so curious, like, how you were motivated on days you really felt like working, and how you rested on days that you really felt like resting, on as someone that really had to do it all basically on her own up until that point.
Well, to be honest, it was very difficult because I was a waitress for 6 years, and I did work with my family, and you know, it did get to a point where I was definitely prioritizing working more than I was like the music stuff. And that definitely got kind of like hard to balance. And I was also, like you said, I was doing everything by myself. Like meeting Smoothie's definitely taken so much off of my hands. But back then I literally did it all. Like I did my own cover art, I did my own photo shoots, I did my own music videos, I edited my own music videos, I edited my own, literally any type of freestyle video I post, I'd shoot, I edited. I did my own distribution, I recorded my own music, I mastered, mixed and mastered all of it. Like I did literally everything from like by myself. And doing that and also working was like the hardest thing to balance. But like a full work day for me, like to be honest, would be I'd go to my regular job, I get off, and then I always had a studio set up of my own. So that was, you know, a plus. Luckily I had that. So I was always able to record anytime I got home. So I'd get off of work, record. A lot of times I would record, you know, let's just say I got off of work at like 5, I'd stay up until like 4. Like, you know, I was just trying to make the most of the time I did have to work on music. And then not only that, like, let's just say I had to work the next day and I wanted to shoot a music video, I would work. After work, I would shoot a music video. I had to go to Dallas for any reason. There'd been times I would work double shift, leave at 9 o'clock at night to Dallas. You know, I was constantly just like, I never let the fact that I was working my normal job, like really like stop me from getting anything else done. Cause at the end of the day, like I really enjoyed doing it. I didn't care how tired I would be afterwards. And my rest days, I feel like I didn't have rest days, to be honest. I think my rest days were like me just making time to do other things with other people. You know, that was just me hanging out with my friends or my family and stuff like that. But there was very few rest days. So yeah. And now it's just like there's no rest days, it seems like.
Yeah, but you feel like there's a bigger payoff, you know, like with with every day of work you put in. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so definitely all, I really think it was all worth it. And I feel like I had to experience all that in order to appreciate everything that's happening now for sure. So this is all it all happened how I needed it to happen.